I never thought working the night shift at a lonely gas station would turn into the worst experience of my life. At first, it was simple. Check the pumps, wait for the occasional customer, and kill time listening to the radio. But there was always something about that place that didn't feel right. The station sat in the middle of a deserted highway, surrounded by thick woods. No houses nearby, no towns for miles. Just that gas station, and a silence that pressed down heavier than the night itself. The fluorescent lights above flickered constantly, as if they were fighting to stay alive. The neon sign, glowing red with the word gas, sometimes sputtered in the darkness, casting uneven flashes across the cracked pavement. It was my only company, along with the hum of electricity and the lingering stench of gasoline that never seemed to fade. During my first shifts, the strange things were just vague noises. Footsteps when no one was there, muffled knocks against the back wall, or that suffocating sense of being watched from the dark windows of the locked convenience store. I blamed it on exhaustion, on isolation. Until one night, the first customer arrived. An old black car, no front plates. It rolled in silently, almost like it was gliding. The driver never rolled the window down. He only nodded when I approached. His eyes, they didn't reflect the light. When I finished filling the tank, he handed me a crumpled bill, and when I touched it, it was wet. Wet, like it had just been pulled out of water. The worst part, by the time I returned to the counter, the bill was gone. Not in my hand, not in my pocket, just gone. I laughed nervously and told myself I must have imagined it. But after that night, everything escalated. The station clocks began stopping exactly at midnight, no matter how many times I reset them. The refrigerator turned itself on, buzzing with a high-pitched hum that made my teeth ache. And on the glass windows of the store, handprints began to appear, small ones, like those of a child, always from the inside. There was no one else there. There couldn't be. Each night, the darkness seemed to swallow more of the place. The forest drew closer, the shadows stretched longer, and me, I wasn't sure if I was still awake or if something was slowly dragging me into another world. As the weeks went by, I stopped expecting real customers. Most nights, the only visitors were noises and shapes I didn't want to describe. But one night, just past midnight, I heard something I couldn't ignore. "Help me," a whisper, barely audible, coming from the pumps. I forced myself to grab the flashlight and stepped outside. The air was colder than it should have been, thick, heavy, almost metallic against my lungs. I swept the beam across the station, but the place was empty. That's when I saw them, small, barefoot footprints pressed into the dust near pump number 3. They trailed off toward the road, fading into the wet asphalt. I followed them a few steps before they vanished completely, like they'd never existed. When I turned back, I froze. Something had changed. The neon sign no longer glowed its bright red. Instead, it flickered with a sickly, bleeding tone, like it was alive, pulsing faintly in the mist. And the door to the convenience store, it was open. I always locked it. Always. Inside, the atmosphere felt different, heavier. The shelves were bare, though I knew they'd been stocked earlier that evening. The refrigerators, which had buzzed so annoyingly before, now stood silent and empty, their glass doors fogged from the inside. Then I noticed the mirror behind the counter. My reflection was there, of course, but it wasn't me. Not exactly. It looked like me, but the expression was wrong. My reflection smiled, lips stretched unnaturally wide, while my real face remained stone-cold, paralyzed with fear. I dropped the flashlight without realizing it. Darkness swallowed the room in an instant. That was when I heard breathing. Not mine. Heavier, labored, right behind me. The kind of sound someone makes when they've been waiting in the shadows for too long. I didn't dare turn around. Instead, I staggered out into the lot, my eyes adjusting to the dim glow of the dying neon sign. And there, at the far edge of the station, I saw movement. Figures, several of them, standing just beyond the reach of the light. They didn't move like people. They swayed, slowly, almost like they were tethered to the ground, straining to break free. I blinked, and they were gone. But the silence that followed was worse than anything I'd ever felt. It pressed down on me, thick and suffocating, until I couldn't tell if I was breathing at all. That was the moment I realized, whatever haunted this place wasn't just watching me, it was waiting for me. And every night I stayed, it grew bolder. I told myself I wouldn't come back. that I'd quit, leave the job behind, and never drive that stretch of road again. But I did come back. I don't even remember deciding to. I just woke up one night already standing in the station's parking lot, keys in my hand, the neon glow bleeding into the fog. It felt like the place had called me. The clock inside was frozen at midnight again. My phone wouldn't turn on. The radio only played static, layered with faint whispers if I listened too closely. Everything felt wrong, twisted, as if I had stepped outside the world I knew. That night, there was no pretense anymore. The station didn't try to hide what it was. The figures were closer now. I saw them clearly under the failing neon light. Pale, faceless silhouettes, their limbs too long, their heads tilting as if curious. They circled the pumps, never stepping into the full light, but close enough for me to smell the damp, earthy odor that clung to them. Then came the knocking. Not on the walls this time, but from inside the locked refrigerators. Sharp, frantic pounding, and a voice, muffled but desperate, whispering through the glass. "Don't let them in." I backed away, heart hammering, but every step seemed to take me deeper into the station instead of toward the exit. The aisles stretched unnaturally long, the shelves bending into shadow. My reflection followed me in every surface, mirrors, glass doors, even puddles of spilled gasoline on the floor. But the reflections were wrong. They didn't move when I did. They stared, they smiled. I stumbled toward the counter, gasping for air, and there it was, on the register, the crumpled bill, the same one from the first customer, wet, dripping onto the counter. Behind me, the breathing grew louder, closer. I turned, finally, and I saw it. Not one of the faceless silhouettes, not a shadow, but something wearing my face, standing in the doorway, smiling wide. Its clothes were soaked, dripping water onto the tile. Its eyes were dark, hollow, and endless. And then the lights died. The last thing I felt was a cold, wet hand wrapping around mine. Not pulling me, no, guiding me, leading me somewhere deeper than the dark. I don't remember leaving the station. I don't remember getting home. But sometimes, late at night, I wake up standing in front of a mirror, and the reflection is still smiling, even when I'm not.